So you've got the create a table EMP. So I'm going to show you the solution of this query now, how we can solve this so that you all can try this. So first the database has to be created, everybody. And after the database, the next step is to create a table. So you will say create a table EMP, where the employee ID is the name of the column. This is the data type. This is the size. And then you can put some constraints. Let's say, you want that this should be not null. They should always have a value. It cannot be null. So what you can do, you can put a not null constraint here. Similarly, the name, the address, the city, the date of birth, the phone and email, with the respective data types, they are not null values. Not null means they cannot be, they cannot be empty. You should always have some kind of a value. That's what a not null means. Okay, so employee ID, name, address, city, date of birth, phone, and finally the email. Now these are the different data types, varchar, and then you have int, and then you have varchar. Yesterday we looked into a data type called char, and today we are looking into the data type which is called as varchar. Does anybody know the difference between char and varchar? There is a lot of difference between both of these data types. The basic difference is, I'm going to put down here so that you can take a note of it. The basic difference is that the char data type stores only fixed length characters. Okay, fixed length. Whereas the varchar, you can take a note of it, you can write it down. Varchar, on the other hand, stores variable length strings. That's the main difference. Okay, so variable length, you can have as many characters in this data type. Is that clear, everybody? So if in the case of the char, if the length of the string is less than the set or the fixed length, it is padded with extra memory space. That is another fact, right? Whereas in the varchar, if the length of the string is less than the set of characters, it will store it without giving the extra spaces, which is very efficient way of storing the data, isn't it? So size is different. The way you are storing the maximum length is different. Okay, so both of these notes that I have written down, I'm going to put it in the chat so that you can refer to it. And I hope it is crystal clear. No questions, anyone? Very good. So next we are going to move on to the next bit now. Let's go on to our assignment. We had to insert 10 appropriate records in the employee table. You can now start putting the answers. How we can solve it, how we can do it, I'm going to show it to you in a minute. Okay, good job. Thank you so much for responding. As soon as we have done this, we can move to the next. So the syntax is insert into EMP values, and then you can give multiple values. So I am just picking up one of the answers given by some of you so that I can show it to you, the answers. This is the query. Like this, you can do the 10 records insert. Okay, another 2 minutes of time I give you. Can you try to tell me how you can use the select query now? Put the select query in the chat, everybody. Superb. I think now you got sufficient time to finish this assignment. Any questions, anything that anybody wants to ask? Okay. Now, a quick assignment. No, I was not talking, guys. I was not talking. I was just giving you an assignment to finish. Now, a quick set of queries I want. Once you have done this, let's move on to the topic. So you will create a database. The name of the database is employee. You will create a table, not more than 5 minutes now, because we've already reached a place where you can all write the queries, at least the basic ones. So company, create a table employee, add 2 records. The table has got the columns, employee ID and employee name. Simple, isn't it? Employee has a table, employee ID and employee name. Only 2 things. Add 2 records and finally fetch or select the query. Let me see who can send the answer first. Just 2 minutes to go. And I want to see who can do this, finish this quickly. So are we all comfortable in creating the database? Are we all comfortable in creating the tables? We did 3 to 4 programs and I hope everybody is okay. So having said this, we will move on to the next topic now. Nisha, Jyoti, Lucky, very good. Crystal clear, Juhi. Thank you for letting me know. So let's move on to the next topic. Now what we're going to look into is after the installation, the different clauses which exist, right? Now, there are different clauses when it comes to SQL. What are those different clauses? Let's talk about it. The first clause is called as the where clause. Now, let's say you don't want to put the entire information. You don't want to fetch the entire information, but you only wanted to fetch some specific information. When you want to only fetch some specific information, you can use the clause called as the like clause. What is the name of the clause, everybody? Like clause. So SQL like clause is a clause which helps you to fetch some specific details. So for example, what I did here, I said SQL like clause. So I said select column 1, column 2, column n from the table where the column like, and I have given something over there percentage. So either you can put a percentage or you can put an underscore, right? So let us try to write this query in our editor. Let's say I wanted to select some information. What was the name of our, if I do select star from EMP and I run this query, the output of this program is, you can all see it has given me these things, right? So select star from the EMP, which is my table, where the column like, and let's say I wanted to write RA underscore underscore, and I'll execute this query. So the where is a clause which helps me to fetch the different values. So when I say select star, select from the EMP table where the column name is like this, there can be two things that you can put here. Either you can put a percentage or you can put an underscore. The underscore, what happens, these are basically the wildcard characters which you can use in order to fetch some specific values like ID something, right? I wanted to fetch the names of the employees whose name starts with, let's say, R. So how can you do all these things? You can do all this using the percentage and using the underscore symbol. There is one more clause which is called as the top clause. So let's say I wanted to select few elements. Okay, so what I'll do, select top number percent column EID from the EID where this is the condition. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So top means I want to fetch maybe top 5 elements, top 10. So I'll show you all these queries. We'll just go to the theory first. Many a times you want to also update some of the elements. How do you update those elements? You can update the elements using the query which is called as the update. The name of the statement is update. So what you're going to do, you will say update table employee ID, set the column as this, column 2 as this, where this is the condition. So what is the update going to do? Update is going to set a particular value. That is what is the meaning of update. Delete is the command which will help you to delete some values, right? So why don't we look at some queries now, because that is the one thing which will make us much more comfortable with these, right? So I'm going to open my set of queries and I'm going to explain you how those queries work. Are we all ready? Delete, update, these are some of the queries which I'm going to open and I'm going to explain it to you one by one. Okay. Right. So I hope you can all see my SQL Server editor now. So I'm going to show you the set of all the different queries, and one by one, I'll give you these queries also to create. Are we all ready? All those who have the setup, you can definitely do this. All those who don't have the setup, you can try these queries later. You can keep taking a note of it, right? So first of all, let's create the database Learn 8. Let's do this practically quickly now. All those theory we have done. Sindhuja, my voice is not audible. Guys, can anybody else also confirm if my voice is not audible? Am I loud and clear? Clear, audible. Okay. All right. So Sindhuja, just check your internet. Right. Okay. You can stop typing now. So what we are going to do is I'm going to give you the first query, create database learn it. Can you all create the database learn it using this query and execute it? I already have it. So I will, the system will not allow me, but can you all create and let me know? So this query, create database learn it, will help you create the database. Use learn 8 is the query which will help you use the database, which is the learn 8 database. Then there is one more thing, guys, over here. Here it's asking you to create a table. What is the name of the table? STU. What is the different columns that we have in the STU, which is R number, name, and age. R number is the int. Name has the data type varchar, and age has the data type int. So we have got R number, name, and age and int. Let me put this also in the chat. Can you create the table STU and write done? This is the query. Let's practice this quickly. All right. Now, once the table is created, you've created the database and table. These are the different values that we are going to add. I'll put it in the chat and then you can try this. Please write done in the chat once you have done it. All right. So very good. I can see most of us have done this also. Insert into the query. So I'm putting all these insert queries for you to try. All those who have the setup, please finish this. As I said yesterday, we had to finish this and then we move on to the next set of queries. So this is the insert query, everyone. I have put it in the chat. Please try this, take a note of it. And this is that where city is equal to Delhi. Now I want all of you to practice this query. Write done once you have done it and tell me what records are you getting. Okay, and now the next thing is I want to fetch all the names of the employees whose names are starting with R%. So I'm giving you now 5 queries to take a note of it. Please try these queries on the same table. Okay, if you have different table, it's fine. You can just, these queries will be just like a template for you. Okay, don't worry if you don't have the table. Do it on whatever table you have. Please do this hands-on, but okay, everybody is clear now. Now the next one is the update query. How do you use the update query? You will use update STU set age is equal to 13 where roll number is equal to 3, and then finally delete from STU where roll number is 4, delete STU where roll number. These are all the syntaxes for the delete query. You can alter the table using alter table STU where, let's say I wanted to add the class of the data type char. You can alter the table STU, you can drop the column class. So after this, I'm going to give you a quick activity to do. Just make sure that you are all able to understand these queries as I scroll down. Okay. All right. So what is the first thing that I want you to do? I'll show you a table. Please give me the queries. Let me show you the table. 1 second. This is the table, guys, which we will be using for our queries. Okay. So what I want you to do first is, this is the question. This is the table. So what I want is, please send me the query for, I'll go a little slow so that everybody get the chance. Delete the record. Delete the record with the name Chaitali. That is the first thing. So now what is the appropriate query for this? Does anybody know that? What is the appropriate query for the delete? Let me give you the syntax one more time. When you want to delete a specific character or particular record from this database that you have, this is how you will use. Delete from STU where the roll number is 4. That specific key that you need to give that. Okay. So here also I want to delete the record with the name Chaitali or somebody whose ID is 4. Now in this case, what's going to happen, everybody, when I say delete the record with the name Chaitali, what it is going to do? It is going to delete the name, the based on the ID. And what is this ID? This is called as the primary key. So primary key is a unique ID that you give in a particular record, and that primary key uniquely identifies the record. So you could have 10 or 20 Chaitalis, right? However, you want only specific Chaitali to delete, right? So what is that ID? Can you all quickly write down? Delete the record with the name Chaitali. ID is 4. Use the ID, everybody, and let me know what is the answer. Very good, very good. I'm getting the good responses. That's how you will write the query. Delete. Okay. The next challenge that I'm going to give you now is, I want you to update. Can you see Khilan, whose age is 25? I want you to update this table. The name of the table is student. You have to set the age of Khilan, and the age of Khilan should be 35. 35. Can we all try this query, everyone? I'm going to give you the syntax. This is the syntax which you can use, but please put the query in the chat. This is the next challenge. Update it. Let me know if it is working. Very good. So I've started to receive the answers. So many of you are writing the query as update student set age is equal to this, where the ID is equal to this. Yes. So remember, always you should do it with the primary key. You should always update it using the primary key. All right, everybody. Is that totally clear? No questions around it? Okay, let's move on to the next thing now. So these were the different SQL clauses, the top clause, the where clause, the update. You can alter the structure using the alter. And then finally, one more thing that you can do is you can drop a specific table, or you can drop a specific column. How do you do that? You do that using drop table, table ID, and you can also drop it the full database. So you can say drop database, database underscore ID. So drop database underscore database ID will help you drop the full database. You will not have anything left. Okay, drop table, table underscore ID will drop the entire table. So rows are also gone, the table is also gone. Truncate, on the other hand, will just get rid of the rows, whatever records were there. Finally, we have got one more command which is called as commit. Commit will help you make the final commit and will not roll back the situation, which is just opposite to the rollback. So commit means that whatever transaction you have done, this is the final transaction, you have committed it. Anytime you feel that the transaction was wrongly done, you didn't want to delete the record, but mistakenly you deleted the record, you didn't want to alter the structure, right? Then you can use the rollback command, which will help you roll back to the previous command. Now, these are the list of the different operators. Now, what is an operator? A reserved word or a character which is used in the SQL statement. So I'm going to give you some terminology here for the operators. Whenever you're writing a statement like this, 2 plus 3 is 5, please write down that these 2 and 3 in this statement is called as an operand. The plus is called as the operator. This 5 is the result. And this whole thing, that is 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, is basically nothing but the whole expression. Please take a note of it. And once you have written it down, write done. And then I'll give you the different types of operators which exist. Please write done so I know that you have finished. Okay, take a note of it. So these are the SQL operators terminologies. These are the type of operators: arithmetic, comparison, logical, and other operators. So when we come back from the break in 10 minutes, let's refresh ourselves. When we come back from the break, we are quickly going to use these different operators. Okay, so let's resume at, it is 6:54 now. So let's all meet up at 7:05 p.m. Let's catch up. And once we catch up, I will cover the different slides showing you the different operators and how these operators can be used. Okay, see you all at 7:05, everybody. Okay, so just before we went on the break, I gave you the basic terminology of operands, the operator, the result, and the expression. We are now going to understand the different operators that we have. We have got arithmetic, we have got comparison, we have got logical, and the next set of operators that we have got is the other operators. So when it comes to the arithmetic operators, these are the different operators that you will use: the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and the modulus. The arithmetic operator will help you add the values. The plus operator will help you add. The subtraction operator will help you to subtract the values. The division will help you divide. Then you have the multiplication, which will help you multiply the values. Modulus gives you what is left when you divide the two numbers. So this operator over here, which looks more like a percentage operator, modulus operator, this operator gives you, when you use this operator, it gives you what is left when you divide. So when I do 6 modulus 2, this operator will give you the answer as 0 because nothing is left. The comparison operators are less than, greater than, not equal to, no, and then finally, you know, this is equal to, not equal to, greater than. Logical operators will help you make multiple conditions. For example, the and or and not. And then there are some operators like the between, is, in, like, is null, distinct, and exist. So we are going to go to some queries now and try to understand further things. So this is the delete and the alter queries which we have done. Now I'm just scrolling down. You can see this is how we can use these different operators. I will explain this query one by one and we can put it in the, I'll put it in the chat. So the first query is that I want to select the star from the EMP salary where department is HR and salary is greater than equal to 20,000. I'm putting this query in the chat. The benefit of this query is that it will help us to, the certificate, there's some questions on the chat. The certificate will be provided after you finish this training today. The certificate will be given. Vishal, what is the set operator? The set operator helps you to set a specific value. So when you say update table, set this, it will set that respective value. So you do select star from EMP sal where department is HR and salary is greater than equal to this value. Select star from EMP sal where department is HR or salary is greater than equal to 20,000. So try both of these queries. And just before you try these queries, let me give you the data in a table. So Sanket, the top clause helps you to fetch the first top record. So, you know, let's say you wanted to fetch the top 5 records. So how can you fetch the top 5 records? By using the top 5 clause command. Okay, is that now clear? Okay, so what I'm going to do for this query, we need the EMP, right? The employee details table we need. So I'm giving you a query. You can use that query on your editor to finally create the EMP table. Once you have done that, you can utilize that. So let me just. Okay, so I'm putting in the chat. You can create the table EMP. You can drop if you already have a table and add these values. The queries are in the chat. Brilliant. Please try these queries. I'll put it in the notepad also and I explain it to you once. And then we'll start this. So insert into EMP, EMP2, where we want to give the ID. So these are the different tables. See, create table EMP2, ID, int, identity, the primary key. Then you are giving the name as varchar, age, int, and then finally you are inserting some values. Okay, execute these queries. And once you have executed this query, if you try this query, this is a logical and this operator, which will help you to select from EMP sal where department is HR and salary is greater than 20, whatever amount is written here. Similarly, select star from EMP. This is how you can use the not operator. You will say not department is equal to OPS. You will select star from EMP underscore sal where department not. This is just another way of doing this. Okay, so I'm going to put these queries for you to refer in the chat. Somebody is asking me on the set operator. This is the set operator. You use it with the update. So you will say update emp set the name as this. Set means will help you update that particular name for that particular column. Is that now clear? Okay, Vishal, both this is clear. Set operator. Okay. So this is the query which is helping you to fetch the values. Now I'll just go back to this queries. Now there are other ways you can use these clauses. You can do where department is this, or the department is admin, or the department is MIS. These are the different other ways in which you can select the value. So you can do select star from EMP cell where department is IT, department is admin, department is MIS. Select star from EMP cell, department in. In means you are selecting either of these values where it could be MIS, IT or admin. So any of these values. In means it will select any one of these values. Then you have select star from EMP salary where salary is null and distinct. So let me put these all queries in the chat one by one before we go to the next set of queries. And please make sure you have taken a note of it. Any questions if you have, you can ask me. Okay. All right. Please take a note of these. I'll be quiet till the time you're finishing this. Please take a note. Distinct means if you have departments with the same name, let's say HR will come 10 times. Distinct will only select the HR department one time. Okay, Jazz, what I'm doing, I'm putting these queries. You want all the queries? I'll put this in the chat. All these queries I'm selecting and I'm putting in the chat. Okay, I hope this helps you. Okay, so I've tried to put all the queries. You can copy from here. Now, any questions meanwhile before I start with the next? Any questions anyone has? Not you can use as a word, or you can also use a symbol, the less than and the greater than. Any of these you can use. Okay, Sanket? Not. Okay, something like I was showing you here, right? Okay. Now coming to the next one, let's say there are two tables. Let me draw it on an Excel sheet. Let's say I'm explaining you the foreign key constraint now. I'm going to open the Excel sheet. Let's say these two are representing the two tables. This is table 1. This is table 2. These are the two tables. This table has serial name, the name, and this table is called as the EMP table. And let's say this table is called as the EMP cell table. So this is serial number, name, serial number, name. Let me just highlight it like this. This is the EMP cell. So serial number, name, next column designation, and finally one more, address. And let's say, let me just change this to EID. And this EMP cell, I'll change again to EID. This is the name. And then let's say this is the information that I'm going to add. Or let's add the bonus. These are the informations that I'm trying to add. I hope it's clear. So over here, let's say there are some records, E001, E002. There is another record, E003. Then you have E004. These are the different records and these are the different names. Now in this case, primary key, remember I told you this helps you to uniquely identify a record and it helps you to uniquely fetch a particular value. So over here, this EID in this particular table, which is EMP, is basically nothing but the primary key. But you can see that I'm referring this same employee ID in this table, right? So I'm going to give a value E001. I'm going to give a value E002. Then I'm giving a value E003. These are the different values I have. So this primary key, which is existing in this table, is now going to be referred in this table as a foreign key. Okay. This table might have its own primary key, but along with that primary key, it will also have a foreign key, right? So this is what this explains, and this is the query. Now, many of you have created the EMP table. The EMP SAL table can also be created. What you can do, you can take this query which I have put in the chat. This is the syntax for using the foreign key. Please take a note of it. It says alter the table EMP SAL, add the constraint. What is the name of the constraint? FKID, foreign key EID referencing the EMP, and that in that EMP table it will refer the employee ID. That is what it is doing. Okay. So it's a unique key. That means you cannot have duplicate records in this. Duplicate records are not allowed, are not at all allowed. Duplicate records are not allowed. We are not going to allow the duplicate values. Okay. All right. Alter table will help you alter the table. Make the modifications. Okay. Time for me to give you some questions now. We all will try that. Let's say this is the table. This EID, name, designation, address, and then there is one more column which is called as, let's say, the city. This employee ID, employee name, the designation, the address, and there is a city. Now I want all of you to, I'll give you some challenges to do. Please put your queries in the chat. The first challenge is write a query to update the city of the EID, which is E001 to Hyderabad on this table. I'm going to just make it bigger, bolder, so you can see this easily. All right, guys, this is what we need to try. This is the table. Please put your query in the chat and I'll wait for you. I'll give you 5 to 6 challenges now. So very good, everybody. Alter table EMP, add surname as 20. Alter the table structure, add the column. Surname is varchar 10. Alter table structure, add column, surname varchar 10. Very good, Lucky Venkatesh. Very good. So you got a basic idea now, and I hope you are comfortable writing the queries, everybody. Okay. So this is the assignment which you can try. The database you can create. You can create a table EMP SAL. In the EMP SAL, you have these different columns: employee ID, department, the designation, the date of joining, the salary. It will ask you to insert 7 appropriate records in the EMP SAL table. Use the select command to view the contents of the EMP SAL table, and finally increase the salary of the managers by 10%. So these are the different things which you can do. Any questions on these, anyone? Let's move on to the next thing, and those are our SQL constraints. There are different types of SQL constraints that exist. The first type of SQL constraint that we have got is the primary key constraint. Now, what is a primary key? Some of you were asking me this yesterday, so I'm going to explain all these constraints to you, everybody. So what is a primary key constraint? It is uniquely available, uniquely identified constraint. You cannot have duplicate values in this case. The next one has got the unique constraint, which ensures that each and every element in your structure is basically a unique value. They are different. They're not, everything is different. Not null constraint indicates that your column will have a not null value, cannot have a null value. That is the constraint. Default constraint will prove, or it will say that for a particular column, when the none is specified, default constraint says that it will give a default value for a column. The check constraint will ensure that all the values in the column will satisfy certain conditions. Foreign key, which is uniquely identifies a row or record in any other database, is basically a foreign key constraint. So not null constraint, this is how you can use the not null constraint. I am creating a table sales, ID is int, the employee ID is varchar, right? The age is integer, the address is of the char type, salary is the decimal. Can anybody guess what is this decimal 18, 2 going to do? Yes? Can anybody explain 18, 2 decimal number? That is another data type that you can see over here. Yesterday we covered the int, the char, the varchar. So what is the main purpose of decimal 18? Yes, it is a precision. Very good. 18 digits up to 2 decimal places is the precision. You then have the alter table sales, ID int not null, employee ID varchar, age is integer, address is the char value, and salary is the decimal value. You can alter the table sales, you can alter column salary, decimal 18, 2 not null. You then have a default constraint in which, let's say if you don't give the value by default, whatever value is there, it will take that. That is the default value. Okay, everybody, is that clear? So create table sales, ID not null, employee ID is varchar, age is int not null, address is char, and salary decimal up to 2 decimal places. Default value is 5,000. That is how it works. So alter table sales, add constraint dsal, default value is 5,000. So that means if the user doesn't give any value, what it is going to do? By default, whatever value it has, it will take that value. Okay, I hope this is clear. So similarly, you can alter the table, you can add this. You can either add the constraint by adding the column, or you can also do this. You can alter the table, and then at the time of altering the table, you can do this thing. Okay, at the time of altering. So you can say alter table sales, drop the constraint as dsal. This is the unique constraint, create table sales, right? And what it will do, it will create a table sales for you. ID int not null, employee ID is varchar 20, age is integer, address is char, salary is decimal, by default 18, 2. Alter table sales will help you add the constraint. Alter table sales, my unique constraint is unique, age, salary. You can also drop the constraint. Let's say you don't want to enter the constraint. No, what it will happen, you can also drop the constraints. Anytime you don't need it, drop it. That is what it says, right? Next is the another thing, the primary key constraint. You can also add primary key constraints. This is how the primary key can be added. You can say primary key ID, or you can say alter table sales, add constraint primary key, and that is the ID. Alter table sales, drop the constraint PK ID. You can drop the constraint if you don't want. Okay. Create table sales, ID is integer, employee ID is varchar, age is integer, address is char, primary key is ID. You can also create table orders, and you can, this is how you can alter it. Okay, everybody, is that clear? Okay. Now, this is the structure. I want you to read this assignment. Can anybody, and then we'll talk about it. We'll try to understand it, how it's working. We'll talk about it, how it is working. So see, I'm creating 2 tables. Let's talk about it. What are we actually doing? We are creating 2 tables. What are those 2 tables? the EMP table and the EMP SAL table. In the EMP table, these are the different columns. These are the constraints. This is a very good exercise actually, which will help you to strengthen your concepts. It's a very, very good exercise. So you can add your own constraints. See, employee ID, department, designation, the basic, the date of joining. Can you all see this? So this is one of those very good exercises. So you can take a snapshot, but please try to do it, right? Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. There are different clauses in SQL. Now, what are those different clauses? The different clauses that exist in SQL are between, in, like, count, distinct. So let's look at this one by one. Order by, group by, having. These are the different clauses. What these clauses helps you to do, they help you to get some records based on some different values. So let's say I wanted all the employees of the organization whose salary is between 2 lakh and 3 lakh, between clause. Let me see if I can show you some clauses now. Between. Can you see this, everyone? You can either use it like this, between range. You can search the between like this. So you can say select star from EMP salary, where salary between this and this. Okay. Is that clear, the between clause? Okay. Now, what else after the between clause? You have got another thing which is called as, let me scroll down. Select star from EMP cell where department is IT or department is admin or department is MIS. So this is the or clause. Now the next clause, let's look into the in. In helps you to select specific values in. Okay. Then we have got a like clause. Like clause means with a specific pattern. Count. You wanted to count all the employees with the name starting with T. So you wanted to count all the employees. Distinct. Distinct clause, I told you, it will help you find the distinct values. Okay. Having clause means, let's say I wanted to fetch the record of all the students whose employee ID having E. So let's say it has E. So having means, having clause will check whether that value is existing or not, the having clause. Okay. Now read this assignment, everybody. Can you give me a dummy query? I know we don't have the employee table created, many of us, but if I wanted to display city-wise count of employees arranged in descending order, can we try this query? Can we all try this? Please let me know if it is working. I wanted to calculate the designation-wise, city-wise count of the employees. So what will be the query? Let's think about it. All I want to do is, in this case, I want to use the descending order, right? So I can use a clause here to find out the element first of all, and then use a DESC clause, which will help us to do the descending order. Okay. I wanted to find the designation wise total cost, number of members arranged. So these are the different things which you can do using these clauses. Okay. I hope it is clear. No questions. Okay. Let's move on to the next bit now. And in the next thing, what we are going to understand, how do we create functions in the case of the SQL commands. Now there's something called function. Now what is a function? Function is something which helps you to do an operation again and again and again. That is the main purpose of the function, right? So there are different types of function. One such type of function is called as a user defined function. So user defined functions are those functions which you create which are not inbuilt, which are not predefined, something that you make. And function is something which helps you to implement a specific functionality. Whenever it comes to functions, you implement them and you can reuse them again and again. So user defined functions can be used to perform a complex logic. It can help you accept the parameters. It can help you return the data. And there are two types of user defined functions. One is the scalar function and the second is the table valued functions in SQL. What is a scalar function? A scalar function is the one which helps you to give only one value. So let's say I fetched two things from the table and I wanted to add the records and basically publish it back. So what I would do, let's say I wanted to take the salary of two employees and do a sum of those salaries. So you will all agree with me that it will fetch me only one single value, isn't it? So such a function which helps you to do one single value is called as a scalar function in SQL. It's a very important concept. So scalar means single. How do you create a function? You do it like this. You create a function mysum @a int, @b int, return int, and finally end. So what I'm going to do, everybody, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it in the chat. In whatever editor you are using, can you please create this function and tell me if it is working? And then in order to test this function, you can use this command. Okay, please try, everybody. I'll give you 5 minutes. Quickly try this scalar function and then we go on to the next one. Okay, one of us done, very good job. Scalar functions, right? So what it is actually going to print, what you get, 10 plus 20 is 30. So it will finally fetch you the answer as 30. There are some user defined functions. They are called table valued functions. So user defined functions or the table valued functions are different. So here, for example, I created a function get emp @dep varchar 50, return table as return, select star from emp where department is @dep. Now, in this case, this is the place where you are calling this function, right? The get emp. This is the place where you're calling this get emp. So you call the get emp function. You are passing the value as admin. You pass admin there, and then over here the entire @dep will be replaced with admin. The query will become select star from emp where department, where dep is actually @dep. @dep is what? It is admin. Okay, let's go on to the next one. These are some of the functions. When I share this PDF with you, please try this. And then finally, within a query, you have got something which is called as a subqueries, and they are called as the SQL subqueries. What is the benefit of SQL subqueries? They can help you fetch the record, and that record you have fetched, you can basically use it. Yes, Kusumanchi, that's correct. So what is a subquery? A subquery, which is also called as an inner query or a nested query, it's a query within another SQL query and which is embedded with the where clause. And what is the benefit of this? What are the rules before this? Let's talk about. Subqueries should always have parentheses. Subqueries can have only one column in the select clause. The order by cannot be used in subquery, although the main query can be used in the order by. We'll talk about all these things. Let's scroll down. These are some of the simple subqueries. This is the syntax. Select column ID from table, where select column ID is this. Now I'm going to give you some subqueries to explain how it works. And please check if you are able to understand them. Okay, I'll explain you also one by one. Okay, so syntax is clear, everybody. The syntax of subquery is clear. Remember, I can give a query like select the employee ID from the table employee, where, or maybe I would want to select the employee name from the table 1 where the employee ID is. Select column underscore ID from the table where. So that is how first, what in the case of inner subquery, first it will execute this query. Whatever result you have got, it will be passed on to this. And once whatever you have here, that will be passed as a food or as an input to the outer query, and outer query will give you the output accordingly. That is how it works. All right, everybody, is that clear? So this is how the subqueries work, majorly with the select clause. The next thing that we have is the correlated subqueries. So in a correlated subquery, it's a little difference from this. They are also, the other name of these queries are synchronized queries. So there are many ways in which you can incorporate your outer query into the subquery clauses, and they are called as correlated queries. So for example, there is a correlated subquery to calculate the average salary of the Delhi employees whose salary is greater than this. So what I will do select AVG salary from EMP underscore sal, where the employee ID in, select employee ID from the EMP where the city is Delhi, and the employee ID in, select employee ID from EMP sal where the salary is greater than this value. So what it will do, it will help me calculate the average of the salary from this table, and it will fetch the employee ID from this value. It will help you fetch the employee ID from this, and whatever employee ID it gets from here and here, it will use that, right? So this is one example of correlated subqueries. All right, clear everybody? Okay, let's move on to the next one. There is another operator in SQL which is called as the exist operator. Exist operator will check the existence of any record in a subquery. That is the benefit of the exist. So what you will do select column underscore ID from table underscore ID where exist. Exist means if that value is existing, it will show you that particular value. There is another concept of stored procedures in the SQL. So whenever you want to reuse a piece of code, you created something and you want to reuse it again and again, you can use the concept of stored procedure. So whenever it comes to running the same SQL code over the period of time again and again, you need to have that ability to pass the parameters. That is called as a stored procedure. So here what we will do, we will create a procedure. We'll give the procedure ID as, and then we are going to give begin. Begin will begin the SQL statement, and finally you have the end. End will finally help you end. Execute the procedure like this, or you can execute it using the command exec. These are some of the stored procedures. I will now give you this stored procedure. Let's say from my EMP table, I wanted to fetch the details of the Delhi employees. How will it work? How can I do that? Using this. So I've put this procedure in this. Procedure means something which can help you do something over the period of time again and again. Okay, that is the benefit of a stored procedure. There are a lot of different types of procedures. One more type of procedure that we have is the parameterized procedure. Parameterized procedure helps you to get the details of the employees, or basically get the further details by passing the parameter value. So here, for example, I created a procedure show EMP @x varcat 20. And I said create procedure show EMP @x varcat 20 as begin. Select star from EMP where city is @x. So what it will do, it will help you create the procedure, and whatever parameters you pass in the procedure, it will use that parameter and do the calculation. Parameterized procedure, this is going to help you insert the data in the EMP sal table. So what you are doing, create procedure in, this is the ID, this is the begin. Begin means this is the place where your stored procedure will start, and this is the place where the stored procedure is finally going to end. This is the syntax. You can also use the no count on and off option. So here I created a procedure underscore ID, @var1 data type, var2 data type, and I've also mentioned the size. Okay, everybody, is that clear? Now, the last topic, transactions. But just before the transactions, is there any questions? Please pop in your questions in the chat, everyone. Okay, no questions. Okay, let's move on to this last topic, transactions. See, whenever it comes to the SQL queries, you do some transactions, right? So there are some rules, some of the important things that we need to take care whenever we are talking about the transactions. Let's talk about what exactly a transaction is. First of all, a transaction is defined as a unit of work which is performed against a specific database. That is what a transaction is. There are different properties of transactions, and those properties of transactions are defined with the acronym ACID, where A stands for atomicity, C stands for consistency, I stands for isolation, D stands for durability. What is the meaning of word atomicity? Atomicity will ensure that all the operations within the work are completed successfully. Otherwise, what is going to happen? We are going to abort that particular transaction. So atomicity means the transaction will be either completed or not completed. So let's say you are transferring some money into your friend's account. So atomicity means that whatever money you are transferring, will that be finally, only two things can happen. Either that money can get transferred or that money will not get transferred, right? So atomicity means either the operation will be fully performed or there will be a rollback. Consistency will ensure that the database is changing after you are committing the transaction. So in this particular case, when you transfer the money, right? When you transfer the money, what is going to happen? There is definitely going to be some change, right? There is definitely going to be change, and that change will be permanent. Isolation, enabling the transactions to operate independently, and all the transactions will be independent. So let's say you are also transferring the money to your friend's account. I am also transferring the money to your friend's account. These two transactions are independent. These transactions are independent. Okay, clear everybody? No questions? Okay. The next is durability. Durability means the result or effect of a committed transaction will persist in case of a system failure. So in case there is a system failure, in case worst case there is a system failure, the durability feature says that the committed transaction will persist. So let's say you're transferring the money and then all of a sudden the network speed goes off. What will happen? If that money has got transferred, doesn't matter, the transaction has happened, right? Or let's say the transaction was still on the way and something wrong happened. In that case, what you will do? It will be rolled back, right? So either the transaction will happen or the transaction will not happen. So that is what these different properties are: atomicity, consistency. Okay, isolation. Dravid, isolation means, let's say, there are two transactions happening. Those transactions, what they are trying to do, whatever those transactions are, they are in isolation. So you are also transferring the money. I am also transferring the money to the same account. Okay, that is basically what it is in the isolation. Clear? Okay, so certificate will be published. There are some questions around the certificate. It will be sent to you, right? Don't worry about the certificate. If you have attended yesterday's and today's session, you will definitely get the certificate. So these are the commands that are used to control the transactions: the commit, rollback, and the save point. Okay. All right. So less than 5 minutes left. Is there any questions? Anyone? You can put your questions in the chat before we conclude the session. Yes, you will get it, Shrikar. Any questions, anyone, from the queries we have covered today and yesterday? There is no attendance. I think you have attended the session. The team will know that. Okay. So at Skillslash, we do a lot of workshops every month. What I suggest all of you to do is to join our group so that you can get the notifications of us giving you the you keep getting notifications from us. Okay, so please make sure that you join the group so that you get updated. Okay. Yes, Kenan, you will get it. Definitely you will get the certificate if you have joined the 2 days. All right. Power BI and Tableau workshops will be upcoming, so please stay tuned. You will definitely get it. Okay, certificate will be given. That's correct. Yes, Mohammed, it will be coming in an email. The certificate will definitely come in an email. If you have attended the today's and yesterday's session, certificate is something that we will definitely provide it to you. All right, thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for your questions. I hope all are answered. All right. Thank you so much for joining